Hello everybody, it's the 2nd of April today, and I'm going to do something with this copper beech that I've had fattening up in the front garden for a number of years now. Bought it as a little bare root hedging plant. I don't know how many years, maybe 6 years ago, 5 years ago. It's had a couple of chops over the years, and it's basically been growing in my front garden. Which is a little, what we call in the UK a postage stamp front garden, which is, I've just got as pots in gravel, and every now and again I'll put a tree in a largish pot like this, let it fatten up, and be a sort of decorative blob in the front garden. And now's the time I'm going to take this out and put it in a bonsai pot. If you saw my what I had for Christmas video last year now, 2021, you'll know that I'd picked out one of the Christmas present pots for this tree. Unfortunately, that was one of the pots that got smashed during Storm Eunice. When that hit, took a couple of roof tiles off, which landed directly onto the pot and smashed it into about 100 different pieces. So I have another one anyway. This is still, it's a nice pot, it's a green pot. It's not quite as nice as the one I had in mind, but even so I think it'll suit with the red leaves, and I'm going to go with it. So first thing is, let's give you a quick twirl as is. As I say, this has just been fattening up in the front garden for a number of years, and now I think it's ready that I can do something with it. So out with the turntable, in with the potting tray to catch all the mess, and we'll try and get this soil off these roots and see what we can do. Of course, part of the fun of getting this tree out of this pot will be that I now need to go to the garden centre and buy something decorative that can go in this pot to go back into its spot in the front garden. And who knows, that might even be something that can become a bonsai. So as I said previously, I have been kind of working this tree in the pot over the years, and you can see that I've got quite an interesting nabari already exposed, and so I know that I can effectively reduce this root ball by a substantial amount, and know where the base of my tree already is, which is quite handy. So I'm going to use this old pruning saw and take it down by at least a half. There we go. That's removed a fair old amount. Now we can start working it with the root hook. And get rid of all this moss and weeds. This was in quite a composty mix, and I can tell that it was the cat litter I used to get from Tesco's a few years ago, at least 3 years ago, since they stopped making it because it's a much finer particle size than the stuff I use these days. But it was in this, a lot more compost in the ratio. Been in the front garden, it didn't get as much watering. Uh-oh, vine weevil. It's about time I bought the stuff to treat for vine weevil. Obviously, I was only thinking that this morning. Well, that's cemented that in my mind. I should be going online as soon as I finish this and ordering the nematodes. And then I will treat every pot in sight. They can devastate a small tree very quickly. There's another one. I saw it. There. Now I can't see it. It's in this soil somewhere. I will put this on the lawn where it will get picked through by the birds. A friendly neighbourhood robin will make short work of those vine weevil. There's another one. If you've never seen a vine weevil, you're very lucky. That camera picking that up. They curl up into these little C shapes with the brown heads, and they just eat the roots. The parents lay their eggs and they eat the roots as they grow up, and like I say, they can absolutely devastate a small tree. So I think I'm going to take a hose pipe to this and wash all that soil off and make sure I get everything, eggs and all, out of the way. Okay, even though I think this tree would have looked really nice in this pot, I'm thinking I need to go with plan B, even though I'm not entirely sure what plan B is going to be yet. But basically all the root seems to be here. I mean, obviously I cut away most of the fine fibrous roots. All these lovely roots at the top here, I haven't got much in the way of fibrous roots at all. I can chop them away, but if I chop enough away to sit it down into this pot, I think I'll have removed almost all the fibrous root. Which would mean I would need to lose an awful lot of top growth to compensate, all of which is vaguely possible. Do I take the bull by the horns, or do I plant it back in a deeper pot for another season and come back to this? I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to plant it back into the pot that it came out of. I think I'll plant it into a big seed tray. Yes, that's what I'll do. I'm thinking on the fly here, folks. I think what I would like to do is shorten these roots that I know are going to be in the way eventually. Thusly, I'm using these old cutters that I've had for years that I reserve just for root work. In case you're worried, I'm using my best branch cutters on this. How well the camera's picking that up. The sun's gone in, it's a bit dumpsy. I'm thinking I could keep this massive fibrous root here, while hopefully these develop some fibrous root of their own. Now they've been cut back some more, and then after a year or so, take that piece off. We can get into it. That's removing a big section of root. That's more than I envisaged, but there you go. Once it's cut, it's cut. That's wise words of wisdom for you. Once it's cut, it's cut. you know what, I'm going to take that section out. How about it? Okay, in for a penny, in for a pound, as the old saying goes. Another 2 or 3 vine weevil in there, so perhaps it's just as well to get rid of it. Okay, having bitten the bullet and removed almost all the root, the tree's going to fit in this pot. I could leave out this pot on one side. If I leave it empty, it risks getting smashed. I always think I don't like empty pots. So I could put this in a large seed tray to recover, or I could put it in this bonsai pot to recover. I'm going to put it in the bonsai pot. I'm going to have to remove a lot of the top growth now to compensate for a lot of root missing, but well, the tree's got 2 chances, and in actual fact I was going to remove quite a bit of the top growth anyway, so what the hey. In for a penny, in for a pound. I think I just said that, but now I've said it again. So let's try the pot tree for size, and that's going to sit on that quite nicely and be with the roots at a good level. So yeah, I think that will work nicely. The tree is relatively stable because I'm going to take quite a bit off the top. I'm not too worried about wind, rock, etc. So that'll do me, I think. So all we need to do now is fill in around. Gonna make sure to work it down into all these cavities, which may take some time, but it's really important that there's no air gaps there. One of the reasons why a lot of people tend to use their mixes like I do dry is because they tend to then flow down into these air gaps better than they would once wetted, when they tend to stick to each other and to the tree. So as I say, this may take a little bit of time, so we'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so now I've got the gaps all mainly filled in. I haven't quite filled up the pot yet. I've left a bit of gap at the top for some fertilizer. I haven't put any in lower because I don't want the new emerging roots to come in direct contact with these beads of fertilizer, so I'm just going to put a small amount in the final top layer where it can leach down and give the new roots something to quest for, without that, as I say, the roots coming in direct contact. Just cover that over. Leave those roots exposed. As I say, this tree is really 50-50 chance. I think 5 years ago I paid a couple of pounds for it as an individual bare root tree back in the good old days, when the local garden centre actually would have bare root trees in a tub, and you could just pull out a few as you wanted them. Sadly, it was abused by people. It wasn't unusual if you didn't get there quickly enough to find that people had taken the choice trees, pulled ones out left, right and centre, and left them lying on the top with the roots dried out. And that's part of the reason I believe that the garden centre opted for selling 10 trees in a pot sort of thing. But there you go. That's the tree in the pot. I'm going to give it a drink now before this dry mix sucks all the moisture out of the roots that are left. Okay, so there you have it. Tree in pot. Going to have to do some significant reduction, I think, just to keep the tree in balance and allow it to survive. Keeping everything crossed for this one. First of all, got quite a bare patch this side. We have this interesting branch that's coming from this branch. Let's see if I can't zoom you in and show you better what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to remove this skinny little branch here that's going down and away. On this back branch we have this fairly substantial branch, and what I'm going to try and do is gently persuade it to come round the back, and I'm not going to try and graft it this year, but that will just be in position, and then maybe next year I can try and graft it in. But let's give the tree one less thing to worry about by not asking it to graft itself at this stage. So I've got to remember not to chop that off as I work my way round now. I've got you moved right in. Give you a better look at that Nibari. It's a bit one-sided to the front. There's not much going on around here at the back, but that's probably, I should have done more root work with it over the years, instead of letting it grow and be a decorative tree perhaps. But well, easy to say, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Time to deal with what I've got. Get this back branch. This is the piece I want to save, but I've got a lot of growth up here that just comes up and out. Rather boring, dead straight piece that looks out of place, so I'm gonna remove that. Hopefully I won't get in the way while I do so. If I take off that piece like so, I can then nibble back that stump a lot easier if I can keep my grip on my cutters. There we go. It still looks a little odd with this branch, but that's the one I want to graft, so I'm going to leave that in place. That's the first obvious piece that I don't like. Second obvious piece I don't like is these two pieces here. Technically this is the apex, but it's way out of line. I don't think it's going to bend very easily. I'm going to remove it thusly, and I'm going to build the crown. So this branch is too heavy, really. I could take it back to here, but it's still too heavy. What to do? Come back to that. I'm going to shorten this off back to there, and I'm going to shorten that back to there, that back to there, that back to there. No, I'm losing that. strike while the iron is hot and regret it later. Maybe. No, actually I think that does look better. In terms of an apex, this piece has got to go. Like, obviously that's too long, too straight, growing straight upwards like a tent pole. In a very uninteresting way. And that piece is growing backwards, back towards the trunk. That can go. That's a dead piece, that can go. That's the branch I want to graft, leave it alone. This is in too close to the trunk, so I'll get rid of those and shorten that back to a bud. Pieces interfering with other pieces can go. Then I'm going to take off that piece, shorten that, shorten that. And another piece that's growing straight up and in the wrong direction. That can go. That piece that's coming towards the viewer can go. That piece there can go. Shorten that long piece back. Brings me back to this odd branch here. I'm going to shorten it right back. That'll give some branch taper as it grows back out. This piece can do its thing. Similarly, there. Okay, so that's kind of butchered this tree a little bit, but it's given it some makings. If I do graft this branch in next year, I may lose that entire piece afterwards, depending on what else the tree might do. Although I want to lose, some growth to make up for the fact that it's lost some roots, it does need a leaf to regrow and power those roots. This tree is now going to get put in a nice shady area in the shade house where it won't get blown by the winds and can hopefully, as I say, fingers crossed, begin to recover. I am going to shorten this branch to there. It still leaves me a piece to graft in next year if I want to. Perhaps I should entitle this video The Best Laid Plans, but there you go. Let's give you a quick 360 of this weird beastie. I ask you all to keep your fingers crossed for it. I may put a piece of wire on there, why not? What the hey, a little piece of wire just to persuade that to move off in that direction. There we go. Nothing exotic, and won't put the tree under too much stress. As always, I see a little bit more work to be done. Shorten that. Okay, so there we have it. It's not quite the video I expected to be making when I made it, but or when I started making it, I should say. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. Do the YouTube things, the liking, the subscribing, hitting the notification bell, all that jazz. But most of all, please, 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 take care of yourselves, everybody. Stay safe.